Hello and welcome to another Tuesday talk with Reese. Shortly, we will be joined by David from Hemp Heros to discuss the topic CBD for pets. We set up this format of the Tuesday talks to, show everyone what's going on in the Irish dog community and what, the lengths and breadths of. Looking forward to delving into this topic shortly. I think Hemp Heros are also online. David, how are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Very good, thanks. Would you do us the pleasure of introducing yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hey, everyone. So my name is David Hartian, and I'm the founder of Hemp Heros. So probably as the name suggests, we're a hemp-based business, and we do a full range of hemp-based products for both humans and pets.
Thank you very much. Short and sweet.
Yes.
Just in case anyone doesn't know me, I'm Killian from Reese. We set up our business just about 13 months ago, all to do with our dog Ruby and her sensitivities. She has sensitive skin, sensitive tummy, and we decided to bring out a whole range of products that are suitable for lots of dogs. So before I start this topic this evening, I want to also make a quick disclaimer that we do like to keep these chats informal and conversational, so we will make generalizations that may not necessarily fit you, your dog, or your situation. If you have any concerns, please do and go and speak with an accredited professional. And on that note, let's jump into the topic.
Yeah. Definitely not a vet by any means, so.
Exactly. So what is CBD and maybe what is it not as well? It's probably a good place to start.
Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of misconceptions. So maybe start off there. So essentially CBD is made from hemp. So think of hemp as like the cousin plant to actual, cannabis. The only difference with hemp is it's completely non-intoxicating. So for that reason, obviously, it doesn't have any of the intoxicating properties that actual marijuana has. It's non-addictive, and it's super, super safe. So all of our products are made from hemp. So hemp can be used to make clothing, textiles, building materials, even food. So chances are if you go into your local Dunnes or Tesco, you're probably going to find some sort of a hemp-based product there, whether it be hemp seeds, hemp milk. So we essentially make all of our products from hemp, and CBD is essentially a cannabinoid. So CBD is naturally found in hemp, and it's one of 114 cannabinoids. So one of the other, more famous cannabinoids would actually be THC. So most people don't know THC is the chemical that gets you high. CBD obviously doesn't have that effect. And I suppose CBD is great for kind of a number of different reasons. And we're doing a lot of research into it at the moment. So it looks like there's very good anti-inflammatory properties, anti-anxiety, and a couple of other things.
Okay. And are there different types of CBD then as well?
Yeah, so there's actually different grades to CBD. So the analogy I always give is cars. So a Bentley isn't the same as a Acura. There's different grades to everything. It's like that, I suppose, with everything in life. So when it comes to CBD, there's kind of three main grades or quality types. So at the very kind of highest level, you have a thing called full spectrum. So that's essentially the whole plant. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the best quality you can buy, because the easiest way to look at it is when you get a hemp-based product, you want as much of, the active ingredient in there and all of the benefits hemp has to offer. So apart from hemp containing CBD and other cannabinoids, it's really high in vitamins and minerals. So it's high in vitamin A and E, and zinc, magnesium, iron, all of these other things. So a full spectrum CBD is essentially everything. So you're getting all the benefits of the whole plant, and it has a much better impact than individual ones. And then kind of the next tier down will be something called a broad spectrum. So a broad spectrum is kind of the middle ground. And what they've actually done is they've removed the very small, minute trace of THC out of the product. And you see, the only way to do that is to heat it. So essentially you have to boil the whole product. And cannabinoids and hemp naturally don't like excessive heat. So when you do heat it, you actually damage a lot of the natural elements in there. So a lot of the vitamins, minerals, and cannabinoids and terpenes basically either get very damaged or destroyed. So it means it's not as effective. And then kind of the lowest grade that you have is something called CBD isolate. And isolate essentially is nuked, for a better word. It's basically boiled to the point where it's a fine white powder, and it actually nearly looks like baking powder, and that only has CBD. So like if you look at it from a diagram, like a full spectrum will have maybe say like 20 different building blocks. It'll have all the vitamins, minerals. A broad spectrum will have most of that, bar the THC and a couple of the vitamins, minerals missing. And then CBD isolate is just CBD. So you've removed absolutely everything else. So that's the least effective. And funny enough, it's actually the cheapest to manufacture and buy. So like you could make a CBD isolate product for like literally less than €1.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And are all three grades of CBD then legal for sale in Ireland, for sale and for use maybe in Ireland?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So all of them are completely legal. And the reason why I suppose CBD is legal to sell is because it doesn't have the excessive levels of THC that the likes of obviously actual cannabis has. So it's a very safe, I suppose it's a very safe supplement because like the toxic level to actually overdose in CBD is about 20,000 milligrams for a human. And like, bear in mind, most of our products, like our highest human product is say 1,500 milligrams. And like our average one would be about 1,000. So unless you want to try drink 20 bottles in one go, it's no chance of you essentially overdosing from it. So like, it's really hard to, I suppose, in that case, overdo it. And similar with pets, like we're doing some studies with UCD at the moment. And one of the things that we had to look at, obviously, firstly was safety. And they have done some studies before where they gave actually beagles really high levels of CBD. It was actually around 500 milligrams a day, which would be the equivalent of actually one of our small bottles per day, which would last you a month. And essentially the results were the dogs were just very lethargic and actually had just a runny poo. That was the only issue. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I suppose at some point you can overdose in water or orange juice as well.
Exactly.
I mean, if you have enough of anything, it's not going to do you very well. So, okay. So one of the questions that we actually got in was, is its use regulated for use in pets, but with the effects being, at normal levels being so, let's say negligible maybe, there probably are very little regulations, right?
Yeah, so like the way CBD is regulated in Ireland is as a food supplement. So like none of the products that we sell are medical products, or they're not veterinary products either. So it would be all as a food additive food supplement. So like because we manufacture ourselves, like we're under obviously the regulations of say the Food Safety Authority. So they'd regularly come in and give our facility inspections, make sure everything's up to scratch, and make sure we have the traceability and obviously the hygiene levels in place. So they will just do spot checks. Where they'll just literally call unannounced and make sure that we have everything in order in terms of like our cleaning sheets, production sheets, and our kind of manufacturing and like everything to make sure that everything is up to standard. So that would be the kind of main regulation that's around. And we kind of go a little bit of a step further because we got all of our products essentially third party lab tested. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, it'd be like similar to, I imagine, making alcohol. Like if you make alcohol, you can't just guess what percentage the alcohol is.
Sure.
Otherwise, a beer could be like 50%. So basically, when we make our CBD products, we have to send them off to get tested. So essentially, when we send it off to get tested, it comes back the result of what strength it is, and that helps us formulate. And then each SKU from each product then gets tested again to make sure that the formulations are correct. So it's not actually a requirement to do this, but we do this just as an extra level to just show people that, look, our products are tested and what's in them is meant to be in them, essentially.
Yeah. Brilliant. And you mentioned production, so I'm presuming they're produced in Ireland then. And do you want to go further into production, or are these trade secrets? Like, is it cold pressed, or do you want to touch on that?
Definitely. We can discuss that. So, funny enough, about 90% of CBD products in Europe are essentially what you'd call white label or private label. So, what that means is like, essentially is not made by the seller. So like you have probably about 20 big, large companies across Europe and the US who manufacture CBD products for other people. So that means pretty much 90% of what's on the market comes from one of the big manufacturers, which means chances are if you have two products beside each other, they're probably made in the exact same place, the exact same ingredients. The only difference is just a different label on them. So because we manufacture in-house, it makes us extremely unique because it's us actually making the products, doing the R&D, so we can really stand over the product. Because obviously, if you're buying it from a third party, you kind of have to put a lot of trust in them to understand that like they're putting in it what they're meant to be putting in it, where at least with us, because we manufacture, we know exactly what goes into our products. So the way that we manufacture is quite unique. So we actually don't use any solvents whatsoever. So essentially we use a cold press method, as you mentioned there. So what that actually entails is we use high pressure and low heat, and we essentially crush all of the hemp, which actually extracts the cannabinoids more or less. So that gives a much cleaner product because you're essentially taking all of the benefits out of the hemp plant and you're not putting any toxic chemicals in there. So like usually the way that CBD would be actually manufactured would be with ethanol. So it's basically an alcohol extraction or CO2. Now, CO2 is obviously more of a gas, which isn't as dangerous, but especially with ethanol, like ethanol is highly toxic and you need to make sure that you remove all of the ethanol before the finished product reaches the customer, because if you don't, it'll poison and kill people. So you've got to be very careful. So because we use the cold press method, it's much safer. The end product is much better in terms of its quality. And also the way we manufacture is much better for the environment because we're not using harsh chemicals. And the process that we have is much more energy efficient.
Yeah, brilliant. It sounds like you're going to an awful lot of effort to produce this product in Ireland in a way that gives really, really high quality. So how did you even get involved with CBD oil, hemp? Where did the whole idea spark off from? Because did you kind of take on a huge project without knowing you were going into it, or how did this begin?
Yeah, kind of. So my background is actually business. So like I worked as a business consultant for PwC, and kind of through a number of different events, I basically started managing some friends who are pro athletes, and they were using CBD for recovery. And this would have been probably back 2017. So at the time, it was still very new. And basically, they'd gotten sponsored by two different companies who are CBD companies. And when I got the products, they were just dreadful. Like, I mean, the packaging was terrible, branding, quality of product, like everything. So I kind of was like, looked into it and was wondering what the whole CBD thing was, and realized, like, I suppose the history that hemp has behind it. Like, hemp has been growing for literally thousands of years. Like, it goes back to like Egyptian times. So it's not something that just like fell off a truck last week and everyone has a craze about hemp. It's ingrained in human history. So I kind of became fascinated with the subject. And then after kind of the experience of the products that we got, I kind of decided, look, there must be something I can do better here and produce a better product which can actually help people. So spent the next 9 months essentially researching the industry. Like, I was on hemp farms in Ireland back in 2018, and then I launched Hemp Heros then in November of 2018. And we originally launched one pet product, and now we actually have 10 pet products. So we've been busy working away.
Yeah, brilliant. And I suppose, so you've been at this a couple of years. Have you noticed overall attitudes towards CBD changing? And would there be a difference between attitudes towards human use and pet use?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think attitudes have changed, because if I look back when I started, like when we do say like a Christmas market, you'd always have people walk past and they'd kind of make a sniggery remark of like, oh, there's hash or there's drugs, and kind of laugh. And it was obviously just a misconception that they just think, when they hear hemp, they just think cannabis, they think drugs. But I think now there's just so many people who've heard of CBD products. It's quite mainstream. Like, there's countless number of celebrities, football players, like you name it, sports stars who use it for their recovery, for sleep, for stress, that it's so mainstream now that people realize, okay, well, if they're taking it, obviously isn't some sort of drug that you're getting high from, and it's helping them in some shape or form in terms of, like, I suppose, their wellness. Because that's what we are. I suppose if you look at us at a very simple level, we're a wellness company. Like, nothing that we do will get you high in any shape or form. So the perceptions definitely have changed. And interesting enough, I think, like, people are very much keen to try it for their pets, because like what we've seen is, like, people's pets are essentially your children. Like, I have a dog, you have a dog. I do anything for my dog in terms of what it takes to make him happy and make sure he lives a good, healthy life. So I think people are starting to see how CBD can kind of fit into there and possibly help, I suppose, improve the quality of life of animals, essentially.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think you are really hitting kind of an important point there. Like you say, dogs. You know how well Ruby is treated.
Yeah.
Is treated like our baby. So I know that, and we know that a lot of the people in the dog community, and certainly a lot of people probably watching now, are very, very interested in their pets and their pets' well-being. So you mentioned you've got a whole range of dog products now. How is CBD consumed by pets, and what type of pet products do you have?
Yeah, so we pretty much kind of have everything on offer, and like the CBD oils would probably be like our main product, and I think people just like using the oils because they're just really versatile. Like you can put them into, just add the drops into their food, whether it be wet food, dry food, and you can put them on lick mats, put them into yogurt, and give them to your pet directly. So they're just really easy to carry around, give to them, and most pets will take drops quicker than they'll take capsules. So the drops would be kind of, I suppose, our main product. And then in terms of the drops, we have 3 strengths. So we have kind of a strength for each kind of type of dog, where it be kind of small, medium, and then like, I suppose, giant sized dogs like Great Danes, which we do actually have a few customers who have the likes of them and Irish Wolfhounds. Then we actually have capsules. So one of the reasons why we decided to produce capsules was because of the work that we do with the guide dogs to the blind. So I suppose probably a little bit of ignorance on our part, that if you have sight issues, you obviously can't count drops. So having capsules are just easier for some people. And then some dogs do prefer capsules. So we have drops, capsules, and we have a new powder product as well, which is really good. And we also have our peanut butters. So the peanut butters we have, one of them actually has CBD, green lip mussel, and glutamine, and then the other one just has hemp seed oil. So one of them is kind of for joints, the other one is for skin, and then we also have kind of a nose and paw balm and a massage oil. So we kind of have everything from topicals to drops, to capsules to powders, and the only kind of product we don't really do at the moment is treats.
Yeah, very good. And like you mentioned that with the guide dogs, and noticing that they can't count the drops. I wouldn't say that that's an oversight in your point. I think it's amazing that companies like us, working with small Irish companies, you notice it more and more that we're always listening. We're listening to our customers. When we're out at shows, we're always getting ideas for products, and we've got products that are in our range as well. Like our Super Greens product is completely customer driven, and it was through demand of the customers. So it's exactly the same. You were just listening out to what the market wants. So I think that's a really positive point as well. And you mentioned a couple of let's say ailments or reasons that people would use CBD. I know the range is massive, but what might people be using CBD for their pets? If you want to kind of touch on that a bit more. Yeah,
of course. So like I would say probably about 60% of our customers who are using it for their pets are probably using it for some sort of a joint issue. So like at the moment, well, I suppose one of the really interesting things around CBD is a lot of people kind of, apart from misconceptions, a lot of people kind of think that maybe CBD is all smoke and mirrors and it does absolutely nothing. And I suppose the really cool thing about working with pets is like pets have no placebo effect. So like you don't whisper in your dog's ear and say you're getting CBD now, so your limp is going to be gone. If it has an impact, it has an impact. It's either it works or it doesn't. So probably about 60% of our customers use it for joint issues. And I mean, the feedback we've had is absolutely phenomenal for like arthritis, hip dysplasia, ligament damage, any sort of kind of joint and pain issue. And it works extremely well. And like a lot of research has already been, I suppose, published around CBD as a natural anti-inflammatory. So that's why it works so well. And like only today, I actually had a customer ring me, and she wanted to order some CBD for her husband because she bought some for the pet, and the dog has basically been able to run up the stairs, jump on the couch again, and it's worked so well. She actually wants them for her husband who just got his knee done. So it goes to show. And like we're working at the moment with UCD because like anecdotally we have fantastic feedback. We have loads of reviews. We work with most of the major charities in the country, but we want to really get that clinical side because unfortunately some people still are maybe a little bit hesitant to try CBD. And if we can get that clinical research behind us, it means then we can kind of give the customer that extra level of assurance, and then even give vets the assurance they want, because there's a lot of vets in the country who could benefit from giving certain clients CBD, especially dogs who have, say, joint issues but can't take heavy anti-inflammatories, painkillers because of maybe issues with liver and kidney function. This could be possibly an alternative, I suppose, solution to them. It's certainly not going to fix their problem, but if it gives them better quality of life, makes the dog more comfortable, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Definitely, yeah, and I mean, even from our own perspective, we're using your CBD drops with Ruby because she has luxating patella, and that's something we're managing. We've spoken with the surgeon. Surgery isn't the right option for her for various reasons, but we're managing it conservatively. And you know, it's like you say, it's not a cure. We don't hope it to be a cure. It's part of, you know, a holistic plan that we're looking at for Ruby and her well-being. So yeah, it's definitely something that I think a lot of people are we're probably very, very much interested in looking into. And then, like, down the scientific route, is there a lot of research done on pets and CBD use? Because, you know, I think you notice that with a lot of parts of nutritional research, it's almost all human based, and very little of or percentage wise, little of the research is actually done on animals. So how is there currently a big database, or is there more work to be done?
Yeah. To be honest, there actually is a lot more work to be done both on a human and a kind of pet side, because as bizarre as this will sound, so hemp up until 2019, I think in the US, was a Schedule 1 drug, which is absolutely bizarre. So it was actually in the same category as heroin and cocaine. And bear in mind, it's completely non-intoxicating. So what that kind of meant was that there was essentially no research done on hemp or cannabinoids or CBD in probably the last 10 years to a large degree, because there was no kind of interest in it. It was kind of this illicit thing that there was no grants given for it. So there hasn't been a lot of research done on it. And that's why we're kind of trying to lead the charge on some research. So I did see, though, on the anxiety side, because that would be another reason why people would use CBD. And only recently, Mars Pet Care, they've done a study where they've given dogs CBD oil for car journeys and I think trips to the vet. And essentially what they were trying to measure was their anxiety levels. So they've done that through the cortisol levels in their saliva and their blood. And what the study actually proved was that the CBD helped reduce their stress hormones response by about 20 to 25%, which was pretty interesting. And like, we can definitely see that from an anecdotal experience, because a lot of the major rescues use our products for anxiety reasons. And like, we have customers in particular who will use our CBD oils, say, just around Halloween time. Because obviously, like, Halloween time can be very stressful time for pets, and it just helps level them out. So it's not like you're giving them a Xanax and they're like passed out. It just helps kind of naturally balance them. So they're a lot more calm and collective, and they're not kind of as responsive to the likes of fireworks.
Okay, yeah. And I suppose anxiety has an awful lot to do with behavior then as well. So I'm sure there would be a lot of applications for, you know, dogs that might be misbehaving due to kind of anxiety or even to pain, like you say. So I suppose there's probably a lot of links really that would be aggressive behavior, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, like, there is a very strong link between like pain and anxiety and stuff like that, because if the dog has joint issues and is irritated, it will obviously impact on kind of their stress levels and stuff like that. And then probably the other area that we kind of see customers use CBD for would actually be kind of like skin conditions. And then lastly would be kind of epilepsy. So one of the rescues that we work with, Dogs in Distress, they've actually had about 3 or 4 rescues who've used our CBD for epilepsy. And we've seen fantastic results where dogs have massively reduced their actual, I suppose, frequency of seizures, or actually been completely seizure free for a number of weeks. So kind of the next area we'd love to explore with UCD is actually around kind of, I suppose, like epilepsy in dogs and how CBD could possibly help, because when you're kind of designing these studies, sometimes it can be difficult because you need to be able to quantify what you're trying to study. And like for the arthritis and the joint issues, we can kind of do that through x-rays and through kind of self-assessments, and the vets can obviously look at the dog and assess to make sure that they're arthritic, and then kind of measure their, I suppose, performance or their movement. And I suppose epilepsy is quite similar, because if the dog is having multiple fits a month and then we give him CBD product and that's massively reduced, well, then we can kind of quantify quite easily, which is fantastic. And hopefully it could be another, again, alternative for dogs who possibly can't go on certain medications.
Yeah, and it would be fantastic, because I was only recently reading something about dogs that were non-responsive to traditional medicines for epilepsy. So really, really interesting that there could be potential there. Brilliant. And like, so from the scientific side, there's an awful lot left to be done, but we're hoping that Ireland can pick up the pace. Do you think, in general, I suppose you've mentioned that different countries have had different legislation histories and opinions. Would you say that Ireland's like a front runner? Are we still catching up with certain places on CBD? Where would you place us?
I don't think we're the worst by any means, but I wouldn't say we're kind of leading the charge in some ways. Like the US would probably have a more developed market, and like in the US, it's kind of very much mainstream. Like it's pretty much everywhere. So like I think Ireland is kind of slowly coming around to it, and it's probably because naturally as a country we have been quite conservative when it comes to anything. So because unfortunately, I suppose hemp is kind of from the cannabis family of plants, people can kind of get a little bit concerned. And I can understand the concerns, but a lot of it is just education. So like half of the battle with us is just ensuring people that, look, this product is completely safe. It's not going to damage your dog. It's not going to get him high. And it's not going to have any like long-term impact in terms of like your dog's not going to become addicted to CBD. So all it's going to do is help. And like, that's kind of why we're trying to lead the charge on the research, because the more clinical research we can get behind this, the better assurance we can give customers that, look, the product is effective and it can help your dog. And like, that's what we're aiming for, is like, we want to make sure that like we can kind of give owners and their dogs, I suppose, that extra kind of help in their later stages or with certain issues. And like the feedback we've had is like literally phenomenal in some cases, where like one customer we met last year at an event and they came over to us like, oh, we were using your CBD. And then it's always great when you get to meet a customer firsthand, because a lot of the time it's true online. You never get to speak to them. And we were kind of asking them, oh, look, how are you finding it? How's the dog getting on? And they were like, oh, well, the dog actually only passed away a couple of months ago. But they said we got an extra year out of our dog from using the CBD. Like, it was absolutely fantastic. And like, thank you so much. And it's stories like that where you go, wow, like it has such a positive impact that like we're absolutely delighted to be doing what we're doing. And I suppose having that little small bit of help, which goes a long way, like.
Definitely. We noticed that as well with certain products of ours. You know, dogs that have allergies to lots of things, and they can't. The families are so frustrated, can't find things for their dog, even to give them a treat or whatever. And it's just so rewarding to hear that you made even a tiny impact on that person and that dog's life. So it's really, really amazing. And I suppose, like, so do you have any particular success stories that pops to mind, or is it just an accumulation of all of them that you're really happy to hear?
We actually have one or two stories which kind of popped to mind. So one of our customers actually was using it on her pug. So Jessica was one of our customers for I think nearly 2 years, and her pug had really bad back legs. I think he might have had hip dysplasia, and it got to the point where she actually had to get kind of like a little wheelchair for him to kind of so he could get around. And she put him on the CBD, and the CBD actually had such a good impact that he was able to get out of the wheelchair and kind of hobble around. So he was by no means running around, but he was in much better form, had much better quality of life, and it made such an impact on her and the dog. So it was fantastic to hear that feedback. And she was actually a customer until the point where her dog actually unfortunately passed away. So like the dog had seen massive benefit from it, and it really helped him in his later years. So like hearing stories like that were fantastic. And another one that comes to mind is actually a dog that Dogs in Distress had rescued. So he's a really big Dalmatian, and came from a really bad case of abuse, was like very hypersensitive. Like, I mean, when they bring the dog out to walk, he'd bark at bins, cars, like anything. He'd nearly bark at his own shadow. So it was just very hypersensitive to everything. And it was getting to the point where he was nearly unmanageable, that like they couldn't take him out day or night for walks. And it was nearly getting to the point where they possibly could have had to put him down because he was so bad. And they were afraid that he might actually maybe like attack someone. So they put him on the CBD drops. And within about a week, he was like nearly a completely new dog. Like we got a fantastic feedback for them, and they actually done us a lovely testimonial that the dog was like a new dog. We were able to bring him on walks. He was way more relaxed, and wasn't as, I suppose, reactive, and like they could see the impact firsthand. And like hearing stories like that, it's so rewarding. It's fantastic. Like,
definitely, to any listeners out there, like if you've got positive stories where your life has been changed in any little way, do send it on to small business owners, because it definitely makes all the difference. That's what keeps you going.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Right? Definitely, yeah. And I suppose to wrap up, because I could talk about this for hours and hours, but are there any to summarize, do you have any closing thoughts on CBD? Because I know it's a huge topic, and I know you could talk about it for ages as well. But is there any huge points that we've missed along the way, or any stereotypes that you wanted to debunk, or advice to give, or anything?
Yeah, I suppose we could give like one piece of advice would be that, like, if you are considering trying CBD for your pets or even for yourself, like, always try to speak to the company beforehand, because unfortunately, it's probably like any industry, like there's a lot of really good products and there's a lot of maybe not so good products. So like the last thing you want to spend is your hard earned money on a product which isn't the best. So like, do try to speak to the company before buying, see what their reviews are like, and kind of see who they're aligned with. And then when it comes to CBD in particular, the actual color of the oil makes a big difference. So essentially, the darker the oil, the better the quality. Because if you think about it on the most simple level, like hemp is a very dark green plant. So naturally, anything that comes from it should be dark and green. So like our oils are nearly black because they're so dark, because we use the whole hemp plant. So like if you're buying a CBD oil and it's clear like water, or it looks this kind of yellowy color, it just means it's been processed and it's not going to be nearly as effective as that really dark color. So that would probably be one big tip, because the amount of people who come to us and say, oh, I tried CBD before, it didn't do anything. And then I ask them, oh, what color was your oil? And they go, oh, it was like clear like water. And then I kind of look at them being like, well, chances are you bought a product which probably cost about €1 to make, and you were expecting a massive impact where you're just not going to get it because you've essentially been duped on a low quality product. Yeah. So like on a really simple level, like if you put like, say, spinach into a blender, it's not meant to come out clear, it's meant to come out green. Similar with hemp, anything hemp based should be a dark color. So like that's kind of one piece of advice I'd give, is like always check the color of the oil and make sure it's that dark color, and try to check reviews if you can.
Yeah, brilliant. David, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Evening. For people watching in, please go and follow Hemp Heros on Instagram, and if you're not following us, we're at Ruby Reese Official. Thanks a million, and have a great evening.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.